What is up, guys? Welcome to my review of The Last of Us Episode 7, titled Left Behind. And one of the most popular questions that I have gotten ever since releasing my spoiler-free review of the entire season a couple of months ago is, what is the best episode of the season? What was your favorite? And if it's not the first episode, if it's not the premiere where we get introduced to this world and get introduced to how awesome this show is going to be, it's this one. Episode 7 is easily my first or second favorite of this entire series. And part of the reason why I love it so much is because the Left Behind DLC to the original game is one of my favorite segments of gameplay, but the fact that the show made an entire episode off of DLC from the game was one of the biggest examples of just love and genuine understanding for this story, as well as genuine fan service. Because they really could have explained the implications of this episode and the things that you're supposed to take away from it in a line of dialogue, which they kind of do in the original game before you got to play the DLC. They could have gone that route, and I don't think it would have derailed the story in any way, but you would have missed on a serious chunk of tragedy and a big opportunity for understanding the character of Ellie even more if they had done that. So when the original game was released, I believe it was like June, July of 2013, it actually did not release the DLC chapter of Left Behind until February of the following year, 2014. And so a lot of us had played through this game multiple times. A lot of us had grown to love these characters and grown to love this story before even knowing that there was this extra little chunk that was going to be included there. And it's one of the best DLCs I've ever played because it doesn't feel like this thing that was ripped out of the game to make you pay for it later on. It feels like something that was strategically and narratively made to be this extra chapter of story that after you have gotten used to this story, after you feel like you know everything there is to know, and then they bring in this curveball of Left Behind, and while there may have been hints throughout the original story, and while some people might not have felt as blown away by some of the revelations there, for me personally, it was something that almost completely reframed my understanding of the character of Ellie, and I have never had downloadable content do that to me with a game that I love. But now talking specifically about the show, so per Joel's injury at the end of the last episode, this one opens up with him down for the count, basically dying, while Ellie goes off to try to find supplies for him. And that's the same way that they frame the downloadable content as well, is that it's that chapter in between the university chapter and where we're going to get in the next episode. And while she is on her journey to try to find medical supplies to help Joel, she starts to have flashbacks to her time before being bit, her time in Fedra, and her time with her best friend, Riley. So it shows her doing her regular Fedra training thing. She's obviously somebody that is not the most social person in the world, immediately gets into a fight with somebody who's a little bigger than her. And I love the conversation that she has with one of the higher officers, one of the trainers in Fedra, to where he flat out tells her, like, you've got potential to be a leader. Like, you should be somebody who's in officer school, but you just don't listen and you don't really rise to your potential. And if you don't, you're going to end up being a subordinate to the bitch that you just punched out. And then enter the character of Riley, who sneaks into her room and startles her in the middle of the night and tells her that she's not only a firefly, and that's the reason why she just flat out left Fedra and went AWOL, but she wants her to come with her. She's going to be leaving and wants Ellie to come with her for one last night of fun before they potentially never see each other again. And so they go off to this, what is supposed to be a sealed off mall that Riley kind of hints at as, well, it's not as bad as they've been making it out to be. It's actually not sealed off and there's no infected inside. It's actually pretty fucking awesome, so let's party. And the way that they frame certain things too, like whenever Ellie is standing there on that balcony and all of a sudden all the lights start to come on, just a great bit of cinematography in this episode that captures that childlike wonder of somebody that would have never seen a mall in their entire life. Like, we look at that and we're like, big deal, the lights are turning on. But you think about it in the context of somebody that has not had technology or a ton of neon lights or video games or a mall in general in their entire lifetime, that would be like one of the wonders of the world. Like, holy shit. Yeah. And immediately they kick into Take On Me, which is not significant to the first game whatsoever, but is a major emotional moment in Last of Us Part 2, to where there's a character that you go on a journey with, Dina, and you end up inside of a music store, and by this point Ellie's older, Joel has taught her how to play guitar, and you get this optional cutscene to where she plays this acoustic version of Take On Me.
Talking away, I don't know what I'm to say, I'll say it anyway.
Is a nice little quiet moment between these two characters. It's something that, you know, in the middle of all this zombie apocalypse and death and the grimness, especially of the second chapter, is a really cool moment. It's one of the most standout moments of that second game for me. So the fact that they included that song in this show is, again, just more fan service that I absolutely adored. And essentially what they're going through is that Riley is taking her on this adventure and showing her, I think she said, like the 5 wonders of the world. And it's cool, the little things that she considers to be these gigantic things of surprise and of wonder for Ellie, again, as somebody that has never seen this stuff before, never seen this technology before. Like the first one's just the escalator. Have you ever looked at an escalator and been in any kind of awe or marvel whatsoever in your life, even when you're a kid? No, it's a fucking stairs that move. Who gives a shit? But for her, it's like, this is fucking cool. Woo! Then you have the carousel, which is the image that we got in the trailers for this show, which got me so excited because I just recognized that moment and I saw the actress portraying Riley and I'm like, holy shit, we're gonna get left behind in this show. Oh my God, this is gonna be great.
Oh, I got something else.
What is that?
What did the triangle say to the circle?
What is that?
You're so pointless.
Fuck you! You found another pun book?
Then you have the photo booth scene, and that was one of the most fun because it's directly out of the video game. Like, you get to choose certain poses, but it's the same way where it's like, oh, what do we do? Silly face. And they go through all of that, and that is one of those moments that just totally brings forward that childlike wonder yet again. And then you get to Mortal Kombat 2. And I like the fact that they changed up this whole element because in the original game, like there's a segment that I believe I showed in a previous review where she walks up in this little broken down diner to this busted machine, and it's a game that's fake, it's made up. And she's talking about how her friend has told her about it, and she's telling Joel about like the lore of the game. And in the actual game DLC, it's that game again, and the game doesn't work. So what happens is she tells you to close your eyes, and Riley is just kind of like narrating what is happening, and she's getting you pumped through your imagination. And I like the fact that the game actually worked this time. And she had all the coins, and they went there and started playing through, and Riley clearly had already been practicing for God knows how many hours, and so she just stomps Ellie's ass. And that was just a really cool element of kind of connecting the world of The Last of Us to our world, to where Mortal Kombat 2, such a throwback game, would be like the most badass thing that these girls have ever experienced. And while I'm sure in the middle of all this fun of this episode, in the middle of just watching these girls just be marveled at all these regular mundane items, it's very easy to forget that this is the event where she gets bit, and there's a serious level of impending doom coming in this episode. The moment that you get jolted back to that reality is when they're playing this game and causing that noise, and you see that infected that's kind of attached to the wall open up its eyes. And you're like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot. This isn't gonna go well. And before you even get to any actual physical danger, they have a little bit of a tiff to where they start to explore the mall a little bit more, and Ellie sees, not only does she pull out the joke book that she gives to Ellie, which again, I love the damn joke book. I love the fact that they included that joke book. But you have them go behind like this little food court, and it shows that Riley has been camped there for a while and making pipe bombs. And Ellie very quickly gets frustrated because it becomes clear that she's been assigned to this mall and she's been ordered to stay here. And it's not necessarily all about, or at least in her eyes, it was not necessarily all about giving this gift to Ellie. It was kind of like kill two birds with one stone kind of thing. And so she gets frustrated, she gets pissed off, tries to stomp away, and goes to leave. But then you hear screams, you hear this audible shriek, and she runs back and finds Riley burrowed over in the corner, upset in this Halloween store, which was the fifth wonder, the grand finale of the entire evening. And again, a segment that is straight out of the video game, to the point where the masks that they pull out are identical to the ones from the game, which is just awesome. Again, they didn't have to do that. They could have pulled out any old mask from any old little dollar store, Halloween store around where they are shooting, and could have been just fine. But the fact that they recreated the werewolf mask and the other mask is just like, guys, the level of love that you show for this game is just unbelievable. And this is why this show succeeds so much so far. So they make up, they're friends again, they come to an understanding, they put on the kind of more dance version of Babe from Sonny and Cher, which again, straight out of the video game, start to dance around, and then you have the moment. Now, again, I don't know how clear it's been for those that have watched this show without playing the video game, and I don't know how clear it was for some people that played through the video game before they got to experience the Left Behind DLC, but while I definitely understood that Ellie was tomboyish, while I definitely understood that she was standoffish, and it never really felt necessary to give her any kind of romantic or any kind of sexual motivation in that original game, it was never about that, I actually was pleasantly shocked whenever they did the reveal in Left Behind that not only is she gay, but she loved Riley. Her best friend that she had hinted at, the person more so in the video game that she had hinted at as this tragic figure in her life, somebody that was there and did not have the immunity and was the first person that she genuinely lost, wasn't just a best friend that was tragic enough, it was somebody that she loved. And so you get that moment in the show to where she kisses Riley and she tells her, "Don't go." And Riley immediately is like, "Okay," and just rips off her Firefly pendant. And that is such a huge pivotal moment for the character of Ellie. And for all of the people out there, especially nowadays, just the fucking loud-ass people in the comment sections hiding behind keyboards talking about agenda pushing and wokeness and blah, 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 a bunch of fucking words I don't even understand. This is possibly the best reveal that I have ever seen, the best utilization of a reveal like that for an LGBTQ character. Because the fact that she is gay, the fact that she loved this girl, does nothing but enhance her character. It does nothing but enhance the tragedy of her character. It does nothing but deepen our understanding of the character. So a reveal like this is possibly the best example of having something like this put into a character, put into a show, put into a game that has a genuine purpose. And I felt it was just as well handled in the show as it was when I played the Left Behind DLC 8 months after I'd experienced this game 2 or 3 times. And I went, holy shit, and just sat there with a controller for a moment going, damn. I already thought she was a tragic character, and now it's tenfold. That was fucking brilliant. And then unfortunately, that moment of happiness, that moment of acceptance to where, you know, she shoots her shot with Riley and immediately kind of gets nervous and scared, like, what did I just do? And Riley reciprocates it, and they just have that genuine happiness and comfort with each other that's possibly the most comfortable they've been in this post-apocalyptic world their entire lives. Immediately followed up with tragedy, which again, I mean, just The Last of Us, man, is just over and over and over again where you start to feel that comfort, you start to feel some happiness, you start to feel a little resolve, and then they just rip your fucking heart out.
Ellie. Ellie, your arm.
No. No.
And so the infected comes in, Riley and Ellie fight it off, and in the scuffle, Ellie gets bit, Riley gets bit, and the performance by Bella Ramsey when she sees her bite and just the anger and the shock and the sadness of, now it's all over. I finally got what I wanted and now it's all over. followed up by the scene and the performance by Stormy Reed, who I loved in Missing, where she gives her that conversation about what do we do? And she says, well, you know, option number one, I have this gun here, we just take the easy way out, but I don't like that. What if we just keep going for however long we go and we just be all romantic and lose our minds together? Oh, fuck.
Let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together.
And if you think back to previous episodes to where I believe Tess was asking her if she was alone in the mall, and she hesitates and says yes. And then later on, after Joel is upset at the fact that she had to kill somebody to help him, and she says it wasn't the first time. You think back to those details, and they don't have to show Riley turn and Ellie kill her. They don't have to show it. They don't have to directly tell you it happened. Just you in retrospect starting to think over some of the things that we know about Ellie and we know about the night that she was bit, and you come to those conclusions yourself and you put two and two together yourself. That's horrific and tragic enough because of the note that they end us on in the last little chunk of this episode. Just happiness, resolve, immediate tragedy, and then you figure it all out yourself. And so this genuinely to me is one of the best episodes of this series, where everybody was losing their minds over episode 3, which I still think is a really good episode. And unfortunately I saw the hate coming for that a mile away. This is the one where if I was giving all of the early reactions on Twitter and everything, this is the one that I would be hyping up as like, that was one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen, because just the way that they handled that story that initially was not a part of the original story, was not a part of our original experience with the game, is one of the most integral pieces of character study and of development of the character of Ellie in the entire series. And so I absolutely adored Left Behind. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed this, please click over here for a playlist of all of my coverage of this show thus far. I'm also going to put my review of the video game most recently up here, part 1 for the PS5. And like and share and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the rest of my coverage of this show. We got 2 more episodes and then a long fucking wait till season 2. So let me know your thoughts, and as always, please remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.